Good afternoon, Crossway Church. Today is Wednesday, May 27, and this is our official midweek update featuring Steve Hyde, Peter Privatera, and myself.
No longer a disembodied head.
Yes.
I think people already appreciate our special effects.
Yeah,
We're like
very
Lucasfilms that way.
Yes.
All right, we do have a couple announcements to bring your way, and we'll get into the meat of things here. A note on last week's women's meeting that it took place on Zoom. Want you to know, ladies, that the message is available online at the crosswaypa.org website. You can go to our resources tab to our sermons, and you can download and access the sermon there. That sermon was on the subject of biblical discernment, so I would highly encourage you to check that out. And there's also 3 other resources that Krista had shared with the ladies during that meeting that we would want to make sure that every woman in Crossway has access to. If you are interested in those resources, there's an article, there's a video, and there's another article that we'd like to give to you and give you access to. If you contact Krista at the church office, and she will make sure that you access those resources, ladies. And one of those resources is the documentary film American Gospel, which I had the opportunity to watch a couple weeks ago. It was excellent, very clear, very biblical case against the prosperity gospel, the health and wealth gospel that's so popularly embraced in our culture, in the American evangelical circles, that has seen wild success, sadly, here in this country and across the world. And it's an excellent, a very fair documentary dealing with the topic and the troubles that prosperity wealth gospel brings to our doorstep. So I would urge you to check that out. It's actually available now on Netflix. So if you have that Netflix subscription, you can find that. It's called American Gospel in Christ Alone in parentheses. So that's for our women's meeting from last week. We do have a couple of cancellations you're aware of, but we should make sure that you're up to speed. This Sunday we are not meeting. Lord willing, this could be the last Sunday that we're not gathering. Lord willing, we have more information on that to come. So this coming Sunday we're not meeting, and then Community Day, which will be June 7, is canceled. The event aspect of June 7, meaning the Crossway Mile, our typical experience, which has been such a joy and a part of our life together. Unfortunately, needing to pause that, and again, more information on that. And then Father-Daughter Camp Out, as you know, is also canceled. That's June 12 and 13 coming up. That is canceled. So that is our cancellations. Now over to
Another smooth transition.
Yes.
On the midweek update video. I should probably mention first that this coming Sunday, Doug Hayes of Covenant Mercies, we're going to record him preaching, and he's also going to give a presentation about Covenant Mercies. One of our thoughts on this was we've had to change so many things. We had Doug Hayes on the calendar for May 31st, so we decided let's keep that. Let's try to keep as much in place as we can to keep a steady hand through these times. And so Doug will be preaching. I hope you're looking forward to that. He always does a really great job and helps us think through how we can show love in this world. And Covenant Mercies, we think, has been a very effective ministry. I know many of you already support orphans in other parts of the world on a monthly basis. And we commend that, and maybe some more will like to join this year in doing that. So that's this Sunday. The following Sunday, June 7, we've mentioned that this is our inclination, what we'd like to do, and now we're making it official. We are planning to meet in the amphitheater on June 7, Lord willing, if the weather cooperates. And by the weather cooperates, we're thinking basically if it's not raining all day. So if it's not raining, we're going to meet in the amphitheater, and we are getting the amphitheater ready even now. Some of Andy Knutsen's crew is working on getting the amphitheater a little more prepared for the staging area so that the weather doesn't affect us quite as much, especially if it rains the day before, that kind of thing. So we plan to meet in the amphitheater on Sunday, June 7. Very much looking forward to being together. It will be an abbreviated service, meaning not an hour and 45 minutes or give or take a few minutes, but more like an hour, maybe slightly over, maybe slightly under, but about an hour long. So we won't have childcare. We know that's an inconvenience. We always like to provide that for our parents of young children so that they can participate as much as possible. But for now, that's a really hard thing to do. We're going to continue to think through how to provide. But in the meantime, we'll have to work with it the way it is. So no childcare. And the way we're going to work with the weather is, of course, we'll have the forecasts. But if there's rain projected for Sunday, June 7th, we're going to look at the times that the rain is supposed to come, and we'll make a determination by 8 a.m. In other words, by 8 a.m., we will communicate with the church whether we're going to meet and what time. So plan 10 a.m. That's the plan. But there may be a rain delay, and if there's a rain delay, we'll communicate that ahead of time. If it just looks like it's going to rain all day, and we're looking at this and saying we just need to cancel it, we will go back to providing the video. We'll create the video, and that's one of the reasons why we want to make that decision by 8 a.m. because we could then make the video and get it out in fairly early on Sunday. So that's the plan, weather permitting. Any notes on that, guys, that I'm missing? Yeah, everything. Good. Okay, so.
And where should they go for information? To the website. To the website. Yeah. To the website. So to know the cancellation or postponement, go to the website. CrosswayPA.org. We'll have it posted there on the front page. Yeah, very good. Thanks, Doug. Let me go through. We have a list of items to try to get these out to you. We'll communicate them again at the All Church Care Group coming up next week. What's the date of the All Church Care Group? Yeah, it's a week from today.
Yeah.
Okay.
The 3rd.
The 3rd. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so when we meet on June 7th, the goal is to do social distancing properly, to continue to be considerate of both the CDC guidelines, government recommendation, although not requirement, but recommendation, and consideration of one another. I think we have to be considerate of the reality that there are many different perspectives on COVID-19 in the church right now. Some people aren't worried at all about it. Some people are very concerned about it. And there are people all in between. And so we want to be mindful of that going into it. We've been talking about this. We think one of the greatest concerns for the church is that we love one another, even though there may be differences of opinion on this health issue. And to not make that health issue the primary issue for the church, but to make Christ the primary concern for each of us, knowing him and showing him to one another. So therefore, when we come together, everyone bring your own chairs. So bring your picnic chairs, or your camping chairs, or your lounge chairs, or your hammocks, or whatever you like to bring.
Why not?
And set them up, and we're going to set them up in a way that provides enough space between units, whether it's a couple, a family, a single, a couple of people, roommates that are, a couple singles that are in a house together. Maybe they basically quarantine together, so maybe they're kind of a unit there, and they can be together but separate from others. So we'll provide a little bit of distance between each unit, and the ushers will help us with that. And we think that there's plenty of room to spread out in the amphitheater, but nonetheless, we'll be together, even though there are some of these artificial things in place. But please do be mindful of that. And the idea is you bring your own chairs, you take your own chairs back with you, and in that way, we don't have to do as much wiping down and sanitizing after. And it's a lot less set up and tear down, so we require less manpower overall. By the way, you probably noticed in the news, I recently saw one headline that it seemed like coronavirus was not spread on surfaces. And then I saw a headline yesterday that the CDC thinks that it can be spread by surfaces. So this is part of the dilemma we're in. It's this constant barrage of data, and some sources of data are better than others. But there's no doubt that there's a lot of just ignorance yet about this whole thing, how it plays out. And even the experts don't quite know. And so there's a lot going on there. So we're not quite sure, but we'll take this precaution again, deferring to the guidelines that are available to us, the recommendations that are available to us. There will be limited bathroom access, and really that should be for emergencies only. again, to diminish the possibility of passing the virus at all, especially onto those that may be part of the vulnerable population. We want to limit bathroom access. So we will have them available. If you need to use the restroom, you'll head back to the building. An usher will greet you. They'll open the door for you, the outside door for you, and then we'll probably have some guidelines on just good recommendations for how to engage the facilities. And then that's a good way to put it.
That's a phrase you never thought you'd use.
Yeah, I just came up with that in this spot too.
Nice.
Engage
The facilities. And then the ushers will help you out as well. The ushers will keep an eye on how many people are in the building at a given time. We'll probably set some parameters there. Again, we're looking to take precautions, to be considerate, and to take steps slowly, making our way, navigating through best practices during this time. And of course, our goal, our desire is to, as reasonably as possible, get back to as normal as possible. And Lord willing, this is a big step in that direction. So that's the bathrooms. Face masks are not required, but if you desire to wear a face mask, please feel free to wear a face mask. And again, our environment should be an environment that, whether someone's wearing a face mask or not, should not affect how we view that person. We shouldn't be critical in our hearts if the one who wears the mask toward the one who does not, and vice versa. There is a thought here that if you're part of the vulnerable population, I think we can expect that those that are part of the vulnerable population, so our seasoned members and perhaps those with some health issues, I think we could expect that a much higher percentage of folks in that category will wear face masks. Not that we're requiring it, but we might. I don't know if we would go so far, but maybe we would say we recommend it if you're in the vulnerable population. But it's your decision as to how to approach that. But please do take precautions. We don't want to become a danger to you in any way. So we want to build you up. So that's face masks. They're optional. Please use wisdom, and please use charity. And let me put it this way. Even if you feel very strongly that you have tremendously clear knowledge on this whole situation, and you're convinced of that to the point where you really think others are wrong about the way they're approaching it, even then, we urge biblical humility, that you don't elevate your perspective on this whole event above knowing Christ and showing Christ to one another. This is critical for the life of the church at this time. The other pastors we're talking to, the same issue all over the place. People are very concerned and have very strong opinions about this. Well, let's not let that affect Crossway Church. It shouldn't, and we won't let it. Okay. We will make seating available on the patio. The patio is the paved area under the deck. We'll make special seating available there.
Or on top, too.
Or on top. Yeah. For seniors, those that may have trouble with the amphitheater stairs, And it also might be a good place if you have a little more concern and you want to social distance a little more. You could imagine that the edges of the amphitheater, as well as perhaps a space on the deck or on the patio below, could be a little more open. So there'll be some seating available there for those situations.
And you'll hear loud and clear. We're renting a system that will cover the area everywhere you sit.
Good.
So
yeah. And shout out to Sean Tiemann and his sound experts.
Yeah. Jacob Lewis getting involved. So
Yeah.
very grateful.
Thank you, brothers, for all that you do to make sure that we can hear when we meet. Also, I think I forgot to mention, we will make some chairs available. We'll just make the black plastic chairs available. If people arrive and for some reason they didn't get this message or forgot to bring chairs, there'll be something available for them to take and set up and then return to a spot, probably on the patio. There'll be a spot there where you can grab some chairs. I mentioned that there's no child care. That is a regret, although I think this could be a sweet time together. Mm-hmm. There will be the noises of children, and we'll work with that because we love the children, and this is a good time to work with that. We do plan to celebrate the Lord's Supper, and we're going to use the prepackaged materials, prepackaged elements. So it's a little cup with the wafer on top, and so each it's a package basically of both the bread and the wine. Now it's not wine; it's grape juice, but it symbolizes that. So. I think we're still working on how to distribute that in the best manner, but we'll figure that out, and we are looking forward very much to partaking together, coming to the Lord's table, demonstrating our union with Christ, and therefore our unity with one another. So please very much prepare your hearts for that. Looking forward to coming to the Lord's table together. It's been a few months since we've been able to do that, so it's a special time for the church. Yeah. Please enter the service by walking around the building and not through the building. So the one challenge we have is that the cul-de-sac when you head down the parking lot and you go down to the cul-de-sac that's closest to the amphitheater, it's not large enough for an easy turnaround. But obviously that's the best drop-off place. And I think we're going to have folks at different levels of capability. So if you're able to just park and walk the distance to the amphitheater, please just do that and head around the side of the building. If you need a drop-off, we're going to provide for that so that folks that need to be driven down to the cul-de-sac can be dropped off there. That we can make sure that happens, and maybe we'll utilize some of the grass and the dirt to help cars turn around easily there. We'll figure that out. But there may be those who really can't handle even the walk from the cul-de-sac over to the patio or the deck. And I think in those cases, we do want to make available, we'll station some folks to help those that can drop off at the front, come through the building, and either go directly out on the deck or take the elevator down to the patio. Yeah. And this way we're covering all the bases. But again, if you have the ability to just park and walk, which obviously the vast majority of our folks can do that, please go ahead and do that. It'll make it easier. And we'll think through a plan of how to drop off for everyone. Those that have the normal, just kind of normal distance issues, and then those that may need some help to get there, to get a little closer or a lot closer. And we're hoping to do this. So this is the plan for June 7. We're hoping to implement this exact same plan for all the Sundays in June. So the 4 Sundays in June, we want to take it this way. And so we don't have an indoor backup plan for June. It's either outdoors or video. And so we'll keep doing it that way for the month of June. Our hope is that in July, we'll have a plan in place to, if it's not outdoors, it'll be inside in July. And of course, as the weather gets warmer, that becomes a question as well. The good news is that the Lord has provided us with an amphitheater, and we think that could be really useful at this time. And so we want to utilize that, leverage it to its best usage as much as possible. And guys, I think there's any details on any of that maybe we should, that I missed, or we should
just that there's, if you want to watch remotely, all Sunday services will be channeled through a live stream online. That access to that, either a Zoom video call or some sort of live stream digital format, you could contact the office, let us know that you would want that or want access to that, and we'll provide that for you. So just so you're aware, if you're not comfortable coming in, if you're unable to come in to a Sunday service, that will be available. So.
Good. Yeah, very good.
Yeah. That's good.
Okay, so I think we need to deal with the topic of greetings. I think I'm finding that in some cases when I see someone I haven't seen for a long time, I want to greet them affectionately, at least a handshake or a hug. And so that impulse is there. And then what happens is internally is, well, I'm asking myself, am I okay with that? And then I'm thinking, are they okay with that? And a lot of times if you don't think that through in advance, it's like you're coming toward each other and you're trying to figure that out on the way. And then you talk about potential some awkward moments there, right? And even worse than an awkward moment where you might take a moment, it's awkward because you're fleshing out how comfortable each other is with this approach or whatever approach it is. Even worse than that is when one side presumes upon the other and basically enforces their perspective on the other. And just think about, do we like it when people do that to us? So I think we really need to be thoughtful here. And you know what? It's okay to err on the side of caution right now. It's fine if we don't, once again, a temporary period, it's not the end of the world. If for a temporary period we're having to think through and maybe even refrain from affectionate greetings for the sake of health, it's okay.
Right.
It's actually probably a good exercise for us because it might even help some of us to think through, what does the other person think about this? What do they desire? How can I be more considerate of them? So kind of the obvious example here is a person who feels like, I don't think this is a big deal. I don't think coronavirus is a big deal. I think this is a farce. And you know what? I love this person and I'm going to show them. Okay, we appreciate your conviction there, your desire to show your love. Excellent. However, have you actually been considerate of the other person? And if your immediate thought there is, well, they should want to physically greet me. They should want to shake hands or hug. If that's your thought, let me raise the prospect that you're not actually thinking about them as much as you're thinking about yourself. It's not for you to teach someone else how they ought to greet you. And it's not for you to enforce your perspective on someone else. There is a time for very strong rebuke, exhortation, teaching, correction. There's a time for all that. Affectionate greetings is not that time. Temporarily thinking through how we do that, it's not a time for that. And I do think one of the challenges of this time is you see folks maybe you don't always know what motivates someone, but they may view this time as a chance for them to really get on a particular soapbox on their perspective and let everyone know. By the way, I think it's one of the tragedies, I think we all do, one of the tragedies of the social media age, which really hasn't been that long, is that it seems like everyone, obviously overgeneralization, but you get my drift, it's an exaggeration on purpose. It seems like everyone feels that they should share their perspective on most things all the time. And, frankly, humans aren't built that way. That's not the way we're supposed to relate. It's why there's so much trouble. It's why there's so much despair on social media. It's why it's so damaging to people's mental health and their emotions. At any rate, this is not one of those times to just sound off. Could it become that? Yeah, it could, but it's not right now. And so certainly when it comes to greeting one another affectionately, let us be considerate of others. So I'm going to recommend refraining from handshaking and hugging, not because I want to be draconian or tell you what to do, but I think in general, when you consider the population, it's probably the most considerate place to begin, is to just assume that most people are going to interact with, whether they tell you or not, are going to have some concerns about physical contact. Now, if you start from that position and someone wants to hug you or someone wants to shake your hand, and you want to hug and shake their hand, that's fine. By all means, that's fine. But I recommend that you start with a perspective of real consideration. Like, I'm not, just think to yourself, I'm not real sure what that person actually believes on affectionate greetings right now. If you're not sure, take a step back and be considerate. And you guys think that that's...
Yeah, I was just looking at Romans 14. I'd encourage you to read that text where Paul talks about the strong and the weak conscience. And that's so much what we're dealing with right now is conscience issues. And so it's really an opportunity for us to inform our own consciences. So even just think about, okay, in a week and a half, Lord willing, we're going to be together. There's going to be opportunities for fear. There's going to be opportunities for presumption. There's going to be opportunities for love and fellowship and all kinds of things. So let's inform our consciences biblically. But then when you read Romans 14, there's such a clear emphasis on considering and loving your brother or sister and where they're at, that they will stand before their master, just like you'll stand before your master. And he's able to make us stand. He's faithful to us.
Amen.
And so let's come together on June 7, looking to encourage and build each other up.
Good.
Right? And I, we have confidence before God that will be the effect, right? That his grace is at work. And so the more that we can consider and pray towards that, the better. This is really an opportunity for us to rejoice in God's work at bringing us together as a church, and obviously under the umbrella of his love and grace that have been showered onto us. And so in light of what we've received, it's really nothing at all for us to prefer one another in that way and show that kind of consideration.
It's excellent.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah.
Yeah, just to add to that, I mean, it's a test. I mean, the coronavirus could be many things for the church, but one thing it definitely will be is a test of the second great commandment. Are we loving our neighbor as we love ourselves? Are we seeing the golden rule applied faithfully, consistently in our lives? It's amazing that a hug may end up becoming a litmus of or a greeting, a warm, affectionate greeting, a physical greeting ends up becoming a litmus test of how are we willing to consider in love, and are we willing to show the kind of dignity and care that we would want others to treat us with?
Right.
And may the Lord show us all his faithfulness to enable us to really to step up to that moment with love, and to show that he is indeed sanctifying and helping us to grow. So.
Excellent. Thank you, brother. Another category for consideration is young children and parenting. And so, parents, this is going to be, parents of young children, this is going to be a test of your parenting in many ways. So dads, get ready. It's an opportunity. Don't just view it as this will never work, but rather it's an opportunity. Children can be taught to remain contained for a period of time, and there's plenty of perspective on this as well. Some parents are like, well, just let them do whatever they want, where other parents exercise an authority that requires calls their children to some containment and self-control. And I think this is a good opportunity. Perhaps you haven't established loving authority properly in your children's lives. Here's an opportunity. I'm not saying that children are going to handle it perfectly. Of course they're not. But children can be better behaved or worse behaved, and that is connected to the loving expression of authority that parents do with children, not a domineering or abusive expression of it, but a real expression of it and a loving expression of it. So this is an opportunity. Now, as parents of young children think this through, obviously what you can't have happen is you can't have your children running wild and free and infringing on the social distancing rules of other families. You have to contain them. And what you can't do is let your child do whatever they want and then presume upon others as if someone else has a problem with your child coming into their space. You can't presume on that person and say, what's wrong with that person? Why would they care about this? You can't do that. You have to be responsible and manage your own family. And so of course there's going to be infractions, and of course we need to be gracious. But those infractions need to be dealt with by the parents. The parents need to bring restraint. And when it happens, not even if, when it happens, bring restraint. Leverage the loving authority that God has given to you. Train your children in what it looks like to behave, to be considerate of others, even in simple form. No, you need to stay right here for now. Why? Because I said so. Maybe you can't explain it all to them because they're too young. If they're just so antsy and they can't handle it, remove them from the situation so that you're not infringing on anyone else or being inconsiderate of them or disrupting many others from the meeting and from the teaching of God's word. Be considerate of others by taking responsibility for your own children. So then also I think there's an opportunity here. There may be some who will let their children even be together to some degree, maybe with certain social distancing rules or however. Well, getting together as a church is an opportunity either before or after for parents to exercise their convictions on that matter and thereby bless their families and how they want to approach this. And so you can think that through. And that could be part of it for your children. It's like, hey, I want you to sit still and to exercise self-control for this period of time. And afterward, we're going to go have lunch with your friend's family. And that'd be great for fellowship anyway. But that can all be part of how you approach these times that are challenging, but also provide an opportunity. You might see some things in your parenting that aren't so good. And this gives you the chance to address them. Don't shy back, don't shrink back from that, but instead, trust the Lord. God's people, we're called to be gracious to every parent and to support them. It's no easy job, no easy thing,
No.
but how many of us have made it through this already? And we're going to keep going.
Almost there.
Almost there. And we're going to keep going. We're going to keep encouraging one another in this.
Yes,
So,
good.
guys, other thoughts on parenting during the meeting?
That's good. Yeah, it's excellent work. I just the only thought is from the other side is for parents as you're going through, oh my goodness, all this stuff in a meeting like that, to know that you're sitting among people who love you and who are in many cases have experienced or are currently experiencing the challenges of parenthood, and we understand. So don't feel judged or that all the eyes are looking at you because your child is throwing a fit or something's going on that requires some noise or some adjustment. We're just calling you to be faithful and engage the moment with love and with authority with your children, knowing that you have the full support and the love and affection. In fact, there is something about the buzz of having, it's like the Good Friday or the Christmas Eve service. Like to have the buzz of children noises is, that's a sweet thing.
Mm-hmm.
It really is a sweet thing to our hearts to know that, the Lord has blessed us with children, and it's something to be rejoiced in. So they are to be seen and heard.
And they will be.
And we'll make sure of that. So
and we want them to be.
Yes, amen. So,
That's good.
Yeah.
And then I just have a couple announcements on the prayer front. The first is, I think we did announce this before, but the men's prayer group is meeting here at the buildings on Friday mornings at 5:30 a.m. So if you'd like to participate in that, you're welcome to come out. There's plenty of space, and so they're able to distance. It's also available via Zoom link, and you can just contact the church office, and they'll put you in touch with whoever's hosting the meeting that Friday. And then also, please just continue to pray for the needs that we've been sharing throughout the weeks here, the folks going through various trials and sufferings. I know your prayers mean a lot to those folks. It's one of the ways that we show love to one another. And please do also pray towards our June 7th meeting, that the weather would be beautiful, that all the preparations would come together, and that we'd be able to just rejoice in being together in God's kindness.
yeah, that's good.
Amen. We love you. We miss you. We're excited to get back together soon. Keep praying, and may the Lord answer our requests.